Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. My name is Caroline. I am a senior lecturer here in a UK university, so I teach and I research and I work in physics. Today, I thought it would be fun to rate my lecture theatres. So we're just starting week 8, and I teach in different styles and different types of lecture theatre and classroom. And so I've just picked 3. And to be honest, we could already do a part 2 of this video because there are so many different styles of lecture theatre and room that we sometimes need to teach and give our classes in. But I've just picked 3, and I thought it might be fun and different to evaluate what I like about each lecture theatre, what maybe I don't like so much, and to maybe give them a rating. So here we go. This is the first lecture theatre. So the first one I'm showing is probably the largest lecture theatre that I teach in. So I don't know what the capacity of this room is, but you can see from like the seating plan, it takes a significant number of students. Now, the first thing that I really like about this lecture theatre is that you have screens either side of the kind of the stage main bit and a central screen. And as the person controlling the kind of control panel, you can put different visuals onto those 3 screens. And because the way the room is set up, students are able to see the central screen very clearly, and they're able to have a good view of the side screens as well. So as an academic, it means that I can be showing one thing on the main screen in the middle, and I can show something slightly different on the 2 screens on either side. Now, this can be so useful. For example, if I want to show maybe a PowerPoint slide or some kind of clip, I can put that onto the central screen, and then maybe I want to do some handwritten notes or derivation. I can use the visualizer, which basically takes my handwritten notes that I'm making in real time and puts them onto the side screens either side. So for that reason, I really enjoy being in this lecture theatre because, as I said, as the academic, you get more control over what you're showing on each screen, and you can show multiple things to your audience. Now, of course, the challenge of being in these kind of large lecture theatres is that connection between you and the audience. So typically I'm going to have students potentially sitting right at the back of the lecture theatre, as well as in the middle and near the front. And you've got to make sure that you are conveying and connecting your information not only to those people nearer the front of the lecture hall, but also to the people at the back of the lecture theatre. So you can use tactics. You can move away from that lectern and you can walk around. If you have a remote control, you can control the kind of the slides that you're showing. But if you're at the front and you're doing some kind of writing and projecting that live writing in real time to the students, obviously you're a bit more locked to where you're standing, which makes it harder to kind of engage and move out and speak, to make sure you're speaking to the whole audience, including the back rows and the back sections. So in this kind of lecture theatre, I think it's really important to have really good audio. You need your voice to be clear and to carry, so the people at the front and the people at the back can hear you really clearly. So let's go then to the rating. So as I said, I think it's got really nice that you can use multiple displays and different things at the same time. I like the kind of the line of sight that I have out to the class. The challenges are that connection with your audience, especially those sitting at the back, and making sure you have good audio. So on balance, right, I'm going to give this room a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, so let's compare that now to lecture room number 2. Right, we've hopped into lecture room number 2. Now, again, I teach in this classroom. It is a slightly different layout. So the students are kind of around you more in kind of a semicircle formation, and there's a lower number of rows. So they're on tiered seating still, but there's nowhere near as many rows as in that first lecture theatre. Now, for me in this lecture theatre, already it's much easier now to connect with my students watching the class. They're much closer to me. It's much easier for audio and for sound projection. It's much easier for me to engage with all those rows of the students. So from that kind of perspective, this creates kind of a more, I guess, easily accessible classroom environment to teach in. But the downside of this particular lecture theatre room is, although it's got this whiteboard, when you ask for the projector, it actually lowers the projector over the whiteboard. And so realistically, when I'm giving class, I can only show one thing on the display screen. So I can either show my PowerPoint slides, I can show a video, I can show my handwritten derivations that I'm doing in real time. Yes, sometimes you can have that central screen where you've got the thing being shown on the projector and maybe make some notes on the whiteboards either side. But you have to be conscious that if you're using a whiteboard to one side of the screen, can people on the diagonal opposite of the room still be able to see that material? So honestly, when I'm in this lecture theatre, I tend to only use a single view. So I would just show one thing to the lecture room at any one time. So that's kind of the trade-off, I guess. But it is balanced by having that kind of closer proximity and that easier engagement with your audience. And I enjoy teaching in both this room and in the first room. I'm going to probably rate this one just slightly higher, just because for the kind of classes that I'm teaching, they can be quite mathematical and there can be quite a lot of physics concepts. It's nice for me to be able to have that closer proximity to make sure the material is being understood and well received. So yeah, maybe a notch higher, maybe, I don't know, 8.5 out of 10. Right, okay, we're going to hop now into the third of the lecture rooms, the lecture theatres. Now this is a different space. It's different in the sense that it's a longer, thinner room. And there's also the main difference here that the students aren't on tiered seating. They're on one level. Now, the challenge with this room is that, yes, you've got your screens either side. So I can project what I want to show on both the screens either side of me, both the visual display screens. And there's whiteboards in between those screens. But again, you can't really use the whiteboards, because if you write something on the whiteboard on the far left-hand side, the people sitting on the far right-hand side won't be able to see it. And you can't write simultaneously on both the whiteboards, the one on the far left and the one on the far right. So again, it really means that you can only really show a single display screen view at any one time. So again, you only can really show either the slide notes, my handwritten derivations I'm doing, or some kind of live interactive material from maybe a YouTube video or something. So that can be a little bit frustrating. Also, I'm not sure from a student perspective, it's as easy to view the material if you're sitting all on one level. Your line of sight might be more readily obscured by somebody sitting in front of you. So I think that can be challenging. And as the academic teaching, I'm very conscious that I'm scanning the room, right? So I'm going from left to right to left to right, because it's such a wide room and I'm so close to the students, I can't easily take the whole class into my field of view. So I have to keep turning my head to make sure I'm engaging with the whole room. So they are the challenges with that lecture theatre. Now, the advantage of that lecture theatre is that it's really good when I want the class to do breakout tutorial questions. So maybe I've done some mathematical part of the class, and I'm now challenging the class to solve a question or tackle a problem. This kind of layout, where students are sat basically on tables on a level surface, is much easier then for them to break out and to have a go at doing these tutorial questions in small clusters and small groups. And it's much easier for me as the teacher to walk around and to engage with them as they attempt to have a go at those questions. So I tend to try to structure my lectures so that when I'm in that particular room, I lean more towards doing those kind of activities. I'll try to lean more towards doing these breakout tutorial style questions and activities when I'm in that particular lecture theatre. And for that reason, really, I'm going to mark it down a bit, because I find the space maybe not as easy for the majority of my lectures. I have to adapt my lectures to fit the space more. So maybe I've been a bit harsh. I've given that 5 or something out of 10. Maybe that's a bit tough. But out of those 3 rooms, that one is probably the least adaptable and suited at the moment to the kind of content that I'm delivering for particular classes. And of course, right, this is just a snapshot. These are 3 example lecture theatres. There are many, many other different types of room that you might walk into to give lectures. So if you're liking this video, if you're liking my sort of random assessment of what I think of these lecture rooms, let me know, because there's some, again, that look very different to the ones I'm showing in this video. And I could very easily do a part 2 with another 3 lecture theatre clips in and discuss those, and also talk about the lecture theatres that I prefer when I'm going to be giving a live demonstration, which is something I try to include in some of my classes. But I'd love to know your perspective. How do you find the classroom environment, the lecture environment that you're asked to either give class or to attend class in? So from the student perspective, do you have a preference? Do you like being on tiered seating? Do you like to have kind of proximity to the lecture, or do you like to be able to hide somewhere at the back? And if you're the academic giving the class, do you have a preference? Do you have a particular layout that you particularly favour? In previous videos, I've touched on a little bit the kind of the control panel that we work with. If I can see that I will copy it and I'll link it into the comments. But again, there's loads more we can discuss about kind of lecture theatre etiquette and getting the most out of our classroom spaces. So let me know if you found this video fun or interesting. I hope semester is going well for you. I hope things are progressing nicely. Look after yourselves, take care, and I will see you soon for another academic video. And thanks for joining me for this one. Okay, have a lovely week. Bye.